So firstly, I'm applying an eyeshadow primer. This is one of my favourites. I find it just does a really good job of prepping the eye area for the shadows to come. It makes the colours appear nice and vivid, and I never have an issue with my shadows creasing or fading throughout the day. My eyeshadow palette of choice today is the Morphe X Jeffree Star collab. Now I have a couple of issues with this palette, but I'll delve more into that during the tutorial. So firstly, I'm taking the shade Honest Truth on a fluffy blending brush. There's quite a bit of kickback with these shadows, so when you gather up some shadow on your brush, be sure you really make an effort to tap off that excess product. So I want a nice light wash of coral kind of in the crease. This works really well as a transition shade today because I'm using nice warm tones. Warmer than I'd anticipated, but I'm just going back and forward using sweeping motions to push the colour into the crease of the eye, and then I'm feathering it upwards and outwards towards the tail of my brow, just on that outer corner, and this just creates a nice elongated look to the shadows. As always, I'm adding the shadow in a couple of layers to build up the intensity, and once I'm happy with how that looks, I'm switching to a smaller bullet shaped brush and I'm adding some of that colour to the lower lash line, and I'm making sure to connect the shadow up on that outer edge. Next then, I'm taking the shade Channel, and my aim was to start to create depth with this look, being that it was kind of like a warm orangey brown. I'm applying it to the outer third of the lid and into the crease, and as you can see, it's not like the colour in the pan at all. It's much more of like a peachy kind of light orange shade. So what I decided to do then was just to do a light wash of this all over the lid too, and I'm just adding a couple of layers of this shadow again, panning and pressing my blending brush onto the lid and sweeping the shadow up into the crease. Switching back to that bullet shaped brush now, I'm adding some more of that shadow down along the lower lash line again, making sure to connect things up on that outer corner. Next then, I decided to continue on as normal and add some depth, so I'm taking Boss Angeles, and again, it appears on the eyes entirely different to how it looks in the pan. It's much more of a deeper toned orange shade. I mean, I love how it looks, but it's just not what I expected. So I carried on and just tapped this shadow down on the outer third of my eye, and then I blended the shadow across into the crease too, just into the deepest part of the crease. And then I'm blending the shadow down along the lower lash line, and as you can see, there is still a bit of fallout even when you tap off the excess, so I'd suggest perhaps doing your foundation afterwards. Now I'm taking the L'Oreal concealer, the Infallible, probably one of my favourites, and I'm patting this onto the lid area halfway across the lid. So the shape of this brush as I make my way across the lid is going to give me like a cut crease effect. Not really going for a cut crease today. I literally just want to blank out that lid space so that I have a nice base for the shimmery shadow that I'm about to apply in a moment. So now I'm taking a small eyeliner brush and I'm adding that Boss Angeles shade in the crease again, just above where I applied the concealer, quickly sweeping back and forward. You don't have to be precise, mainly because we're going to be using a tone that's very similar to what's on the eyes already. It's just a shimmer, so you don't really need to have that crease area perfect. So I'm taking One Noise now, and I was hoping this is going to be a shimmery kind of golden orange shade, and it didn't disappoint. This shade actually applies how it looks in the palette, thank God. So I'm just patting this over the concealer, and the concealer will just help the shadow to adhere to the eye area, and it'll also make the shimmery particles stand out a bit more. So again, I like to add it in a couple of layers, you know the drill by now, and I'm adding the shadow wet too, and this will intensify those shimmery particles even further. Next then, I'm taking Hi Dude, and this is quite a dark intense brown, and everything I've used up to this point has been nice and vivid, but I still do want to add a dark brown, so I'm applying it with a fluffy blending brush, and because the bristles on this brush aren't dense, it's going to apply a light colouring of the shadow. If I use, let's say, my small bullet shaped brush for this step, it will pack on the brown and it would be too intense for my liking. So at least this way, by applying it with a fluffy blending brush, I can add the shadow in a couple of layers and tailor the intensity to how I want it. So I get my brown and I get my definition, but in a way that I'm happy with. So now I'm using an angled brush to press this into the lower lash line, a third of the way across the upper lash line as well. And as you can see, there's a bit of fallout occurring, but nothing that can't be swept away. Then I'm taking the shade Fast Lane and I'm using a small pencil brush to add this to the eye. Now the reason I'm using a small pencil brush with the black and that I didn't with the brown, and obviously the black is a darker colour, well the reason is I only want the black in a very specific region, so hence the smaller brush. And I want it to appear nice and dark because it's the last stage of my process for creating depth. So I just add this along the lash line on the outer third, and I like to then fade it slightly into the crease at an angle to give myself that nice winged out look. Then I go back in with my fluffy blending brush and I'm just giving the crease another little blend to make sure that everything is fading nicely together. Picking up the black once again, this time on an angled brush, and patting it into the lash line, and once I have the bulk of the product off of my brush, I'm moving the brush downwards and tapping again just to fade out that black. For the waterline, I'm taking Torch from Urban Decay, and this is a pencil that's very well loved. As you can see, it's one of my favourites. Lots of favourite products appearing in this video today. So once I'm happy then, I'm taking the shade Dog Mom, and I'm using another little pencil brush to add this around the tear duct of the eye. And this shadow as well is applying as normal. It's the same on the eyes as it is in the pan, so just something to be wary of with this palette. Not all is what it seems. To finish off the look, I'm adding some mascara to blend my own lashes in with the false ones, and then that's it. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. I hope you found it helpful. I hope you're staying safe and well, and I will catch you all very soon.